And Sheryl Swoopes is in mid-season hateration form. They're not only go after Caitlin Clark this year, they're going to go after Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull. And you have a black player that just got cut, and Sheryl Swoopes is not happy about that.
The reality of it is they are most likely going to have to make another cut. It is most likely going to be Brown.
But they did keep Jaylen Brown. That does make me wonder, like, why not cut Jaylen Brown in this round if she still wasn't in consideration?
2 minutes ago, the Indiana Fever just dropped a bombshell. A major player cut from the roster. And somehow, yet again, Caitlin Clark is right in the middle of it. This isn't just a basketball decision. This is controversy, politics, favoritism, and the old guard of the WNBA coming after the new queen of the game. And most of all, why is Caitlin Clark catching heat for a decision she didn't even make? Strap in, because this is more than just a roster update. This is the start of a war inside the WNBA.
I don't think it's a coincidence that it took a little bit longer to cut Ejim. They obviously liked what they saw from her, but there's only so many players they can carry.
If you're riding with Caitlin Clark, type CC 100% in the comments right now. The Indiana Fever didn't just make a cut, they made a statement. In a move that blindsided fans and insiders alike, the team waved not one, but two rising stars, Bray Hall and Ivana Yim. Bray Hall, a rookie guard with explosive potential, didn't even get a fair chance. She saw 0 minutes in the Fever's preseason opener against the Mystics. No time to prove herself, no time to shine. Just like that, she's out. Then came the second blow.
So the Indiana Fever, as expected, have waived Yvonne Ejim. She's just not at the level that the Indiana Fever are hoping her to be at.
Yvonne Ejim, Gonzaga's all-time leading scorer, also got cut. She made it past the initial roster decisions, only to be shown the door days later. That's a gut punch for any young athlete trying to fight their way into the league. And while these two got drop veterans like Lexi Hull and Sophie Cunningham, still standing, still getting minutes. The question everyone's asking, why them? Why now? Because it wasn't just about performance. It was about politics, team vision, and maybe something a whole lot deeper.
The Fever announced it directly. Thank you, Yvonne Ejim, who was the all-time leading scorer in Gonzaga history. Bree Hall is now gone, as you know. And today it was announced that Yvonne Ejim has been waived by the Fever as well. Sophie Cunningham talked about that yesterday, saying you can latch on to another team, another place.
And that's exactly where Sheryl Swoopes comes in. The cuts were barely announced, and Sheryl Swoopes came in swinging. On the latest episode of the Women's Hoop Show, the WNBA legend didn't just criticize, she unleashed a firestorm. Her target, Fever head coach Stephanie White. Her accusation, favoritism, mismanagement, and possibly something even deeper.
Just because you didn't make a roster doesn't mean you're out of the W forever.
Swoopes torched the decision to cut rookie guard Bray Hall, claiming Hall never got a fair shot. In her words, if you're still figuring out who makes the team, why wasn't Bray Hall on the court? Swoopes pointed out the fact that veterans like Lexi Hull and Sophie Cunningham, both white players, got priority minutes, while Bray Hall, a black rookie, sat on the sidelines and was cut without a chance.
Washington Mystics Atlanta Dream game, and Sonia Citron, while chasing down Alicia Gray running to the rim, does not see Brittany Griner set a screen, and kind of reminded me of the welcome to the league moment that Caitlin Clark had when she just ricocheted off of that Breanna Stewart screen. Now, Brittany Griner immediately held her hand out to help the rook up, but Sonia Citron needed a minute as she was totally winded. Actually, this is what she said afterwards. She hit me right in the ribs, so it was like sharp pains, but I couldn't breathe.
And then she dropped the comment that sent shockwaves. What other white girls can I tune up from the Indiana Fever? Wait, what? Yeah. Swoopes didn't hold back. She sarcastically suggested that since she's been told to lay off Caitlin Clark, she might start going after Clark's white teammates instead. Let that sink in. Whether she meant it seriously or not, that line raised the temperature fast because it wasn't just about basketball anymore. It was about race, power, and who gets the spotlight. Swoopes didn't stop there. She questioned the coaching philosophy, the rotation decisions, and even hinted that racial bias may be influencing who stays and who goes.
You played basketball, Sheryl Swoopes? I don't understand. Swoopes appeared on the latest episode of the Women's Hoop Show, where she discussed the topics around the WNBA, including the Indiana Fever's latest move, cutting rookie guard Bree Hall. Swoopes questioned Fever head coach Stephanie White's decision to give veterans like Lexi Hall and Sophie Cunningham minutes over Bree Hall and then cut her without giving her a fair opportunity to prove herself. In the first preseason game against Washington Mystics, Hall didn't see the court at all. Quote, even though the starters weren't in, like Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull, they've been in the league for a while. You actually had players like Bree Hall. Why wasn't she in that game, per se? If you are still trying to figure out who's going to make the team, who you're going to cut. So I'm a little confused with what Steph White was doing.
She never said it outright, but the implication was loud and clear. That white players Caitlin Clark, Lexi Hull, Sophie Cunningham are being protected, while black rookies like Bree Hall are being sidelined. And this isn't a new play from Sheryl Swoopes. Last year, she repeatedly undermined Caitlin Clark's collegiate records, downplayed her success, and questioned her impact. And now, with Clark in the WNBA, Swoopes is back in attack mode and expanding her sights to anyone wearing the same jersey. But here's the twist, Clark isn't even the one making the cuts.
Man, it's hard, right? We all reached out. I think that they brought really good people in, great people into training camp this year. But, just because you didn't make this squad, this is probably one of the harder rosters to make in the W this year. It doesn't mean you're out of the W. And you just got to keep ready, keep playing, keep grinding it out. And if it's hard to make the league. I know Sid and I, we were second rounders. We stuck. Her experience is a little bit different than mine. But just because you didn't make a roster doesn't mean you're out of the W forever.
So why is Swoopes throwing her name into the fire? Because this is about more than basketball now. This is the old guard trying to regain control of a league that's evolving fast. And Caitlin Clark, she's become the face of that change, whether she asked for it or not.
I'm not seeing Bree Turner being the Bree Turner that I wanted her to be. Bree Turner is a rim runner, so we all kind of thought that she was a lock, and she was in that gym practicing every day with the Indiana Fever, which was a good sign.
But the fact that Brown is still around is interesting to me. And she didn't shoot that well in one of the games the other day, but that energy she brought on the floor was palpable. It was noticeable.
Michaela Simpson is obviously at a certain level. She's a rim runner. She just obviously has a higher ceiling than Ejim at the moment. And this is maybe a hot take.
The news of the roster cuts had barely hit social media before WNBA legend Sheryl Swoopes lit the match and set the conversation on fire. Appearing on the Women's Hoop Show, Swoopes didn't just question the Indiana Fever's decision-making, she tore into it with the kind of passion that demanded headlines. Her criticism focused squarely on head coach Stephanie White and how the preseason was handled specifically, the way rookie guard Bree Hall was treated. According to Swoopes, Hall was denied a real opportunity to prove herself. While veterans like Lexi Hall and Sophie Cunningham, both white, both established, were given significant minutes during exhibition games, Hall never even saw the floor in the Fever's preseason matchup against the Washington Mystics. Then, without ever getting a meaningful shot, she was cut. For Swoopes, that wasn't just a bad basketball decision, it was a red flag.
The biggest thing about this team, other WNBA teams are not going to be able to guard Caitlin Clark in the same way that they did during her rookie season because you have so many assets on the court now. You are not going to be able to trap Caitlin Clark because there are so many other threats on the floor.
She made it clear that she wasn't buying the narrative from the Fever's coaching staff. If you're still trying to figure out who's going to make the team, she said on the show, why wasn't Bree Hall in that game? And that question carried weight, because Swoopes wasn't just talking about playtime, she was calling out what she saw as a deeper issue.
She's my role model. I really look up to her.
Why do you like Caitlin?
Yeah, she's so good at basketball.
Because she's that awesome person and she has like a lot of aura, so like.
Then came the moment that turned heads across the league. With a sarcastic bite in her voice, Swoopes remarked that since she's been told to stop criticizing Caitlin Clark so openly, maybe she'll just start tuning up other white girls on the Indiana Fever instead. That one comment, sharp, pointed, and racially charged, exploded across social media. Whether she meant it as sarcasm or not didn't matter. The implication was there, that race, favoritism, and media bias are influencing decisions within the Fever organization. And suddenly, what had been a discussion about roster moves became something much bigger. something cultural, even political.
Caitlin Clark returned to Iowa yesterday. It looked like the entire state of Iowa shut down. This is what the drawing power of a real star looks like.
This was a preseason WNBA game. It is unbelievable what it is Caitlin Clark does.
Swoopes didn't name names when it came to race, but her message was crystal clear. Lexi Hull and Sophie Cunningham, both white players with more WNBA experience, stayed. Bray Hall, a black rookie with upside, was cut before she could even prove her value. In Swoopes' eyes, that wasn't just coincidence. It was part of a pattern, a league-wide trend that she's no longer willing to ignore. Of course, this isn't the first time Sheryl Swoopes has clashed with Caitlin Clark's rise to stardom. Last season, Swoopes openly questioned the legitimacy of Clark's record-breaking college career, suggesting her stats were inflated or overhyped by the media. It was clear then, as it is now, that Swoopes views Clark and perhaps what she represents as a disruption to the status quo in the WNBA.
I thought we were going to get through a season without hearing anything stupid out of Sheryl Swoopes' mouth. We saw Sheryl Swoopes in rare form hating on Caitlin Clark all last year. Maybe she has figured out, well, hating on Clark, that's not really a great idea. What other white girls can I tune up from the Indiana Fever? She's criticizing Stephanie White. Swoopes hadn't shied away from speaking her mind, as last season she raised questions about the legitimacy of Indiana Fever stars Caitlin Clark's collegiate scoring record. Oh, I bet Sheryl Swoopes hates her.
Now, with Clark not just in the league but already dominating headlines, drawing record-breaking crowds, and raising the Fever's profile to new heights, Swoopes seems to be shifting her frustration to the entire team surrounding her. Her comments suggest that it's not just Caitlin Clark in the crosshairs anymore. It's anyone who benefits from what Swoopes seems to believe is an unfair advantage in a league still finding its balance between growth and tradition. But here's the irony. Caitlin Clark has absolutely nothing to do with the roster cuts. She's not the coach. She's not the general manager. She doesn't control the lineups or decide who stays and who goes. And yet, because of her massive platform and media presence, her name keeps getting dragged into controversies that have little to do with her own actions. This is no longer just a preseason discussion about who made the team. It's turning into a full-blown cultural clash within the WNBA, and Sheryl Swoopes just took it to the next level.
1.3 million viewers on the TV rating for Caitlin Clark's preseason debut against Brazil in a blowout, sold out in front of 15,000 fans at $670 a ticket. She is the needle.
Caitlin Clark didn't make the cuts. She didn't draw up the rotations. She's not the one managing contracts, running practices, or finalizing the Indiana Fever roster. But none of that matters because right now, Caitlin Clark is the storm center of the WNBA. The moment Bray Hall was waived and Sheryl Swoopes began her public takedown of the Fever's coaching staff, Clark's name was pulled right back into the chaos as if she personally orchestrated the decisions behind closed doors. And that's the tragic twist in all of this. Because even when she says nothing, Clark is held responsible for everything.
People were so excited for this game for many reasons, but the main one being that Caitlin Clark would be returning to Iowa to play at Carver Hawkeye Arena. The Brazilian national team, even though they lost by that much, it still seemed like they had a great time. Caitlin was signing their jerseys after the game. They were taking photos with her.
She's my role model. I really look up to her.
Why? Because Caitlin Clark isn't just a rookie, she's a revolution. Her arrival in the WNBA has completely upended the league's visibility, ratings, and revenue. Her preseason debut drew 1.3 million viewers, more than many NBA and NHL playoff games. The average ticket price? Around $670. A WNBA preseason game generated nearly $10 million. Let that sink in. Clark returned to Iowa to play in front of a sold-out Carver Hawkeye Arena, and it felt like the whole state shut down to welcome her back. She's not just an athlete anymore, she's a movement. She's selling out arenas, signing autographs for opponents, and giving the league a cultural spark it hasn't seen in decades.
So there were 14,998 people in attendance for this game. Average reported ticket price was $650. That is almost $9.75 million just for a WNBA preseason game.
This game beat NHL playoff ratings. a WNBA game, a preseason WNBA game, not only beat those ratings, destroyed them. More watched than any NBA preseason game since 2018, all but 2 NBA preseason games since 2010.
But with that stardom comes scrutiny. And people like Sheryl Swoopes, the old guard of the league, are pushing back hard. Swoopes already spent last season downplaying Clark's college records, suggesting they weren't as legitimate as the media claimed. And now, before Clark's first WNBA regular season game even tips off, she's being blamed not directly, but unmistakably for the cuts, the favoritism, and the supposed shifting of priorities within the league. It's not just Clark's name being dragged through the mud, it's her teammates too. Swoopes has called out Lexi Hull and Sophie Cunningham, 2 white veterans who have been granted more minutes and, in her view, more protection. She paints a picture of a team and a league favoring white players while leaving black rookies like Bray Hall behind. Whether or not that's true, it's the perception Swoopes is feeding, and perception has power.
And Caitlin mentioned that once again.
What is possible for this group this year?
Yeah, a championship. That's our goal. And I think working every single day.
This team is going to break so many records this year. Attendance, viewership, merch sales, all of the things.
This is how Caitlin Clark becomes a lightning rod for controversy she didn't create. She's not choosing the roster. She's not lobbying for her teammates to stay or go. She's showing up, working, leading, and yet her very presence is causing rifts, stoking resentment, and reigniting deep conversations about race, merit, and media hype. That's the paradox Caitlin Clark now lives in. Every time she nails a logo 3, the applause is thunderous and the criticism grows louder.
Whenever Caitlin Clark takes the floor, that maybe is different not only from any player in the WNBA, but from any player in basketball.
Every assist, every sold-out arena, every jersey sold brings joy to some and jealousy to others. She's both the face of the future and the symbol of everything some people think is wrong with how the game is changing. And that's not a role she asked for, but it's one she can't escape. Now, with the media cycle turning faster than ever, and the Fever locker room trying to build chemistry around new stars like Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell, the pressure is boiling. Every play will be dissected, every lineup decision will be questioned, and every win or loss will feed into this bigger, louder narrative.
She hits her signature logo 3 from 36 feet, actually behind her signature logo that was on the court.
I didn't plan to shoot that logo 3. I know coming into the game, everybody wanted me to shoot one from there. But Steph was like, was supposed to come out at the end of the third, so she's like, give a foul, give a foul, give a foul. And then it was 30 seconds on the clock, which like between 30 to 33, that's like your 2-for-1 range where you have to get one up. So I saw 30 as we're inbounding the ball, which probably is inbounding the ball at 30, probably a little low, but I was like, why not?
This isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about identity, about who gets to lead the next era of the WNBA. And Caitlin Clark, whether she's ready for it or not, is standing right at the center of it all. The Indiana Fever didn't just cut 2 players, they lit a firestorm that's spreading across the WNBA. Sheryl Swoopes is calling out coaching decisions, questioning fairness, and pulling Caitlin Clark and her teammates into a controversy they never asked for. This isn't just about Bray Hall or Yvonne Ejim. It's about power, race, and who gets to define the future of women's basketball. Caitlin Clark didn't start the storm, but now she's in the eye of it. Where this goes next, nobody knows. But one thing's clear, this story is just getting started. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Was Sheryl Swoopes right to speak out? Or is this just more unnecessary hate toward Clark and the Fever? And if you're riding with Caitlin Clark, type CC 100% to show your support. Hit that subscribe button because this season's drama is only heating up.